the gas situation. What's happening? As you guys know, Poland and Bulgaria, they refused to pay Russia for gas in rubles. Okay? And as a result, Russia said no more gas. So on March 31st, that was the deadline when Russia imposed this new rule that all unfriendly countries, which includes most of the EU, have to start paying for gas in rubles. And this is huge because the European Union typically, they pay between 200 to 800 million euros a day for Russian gas. 40% of Europe's gas comes from Russia. So this is significant. And this is one of the techniques the Russians have been trying to use to shore up the value of the ruble, which went down after the slew of sanctions that they imposed on Russia. So I was reporting on this live with you as the story broke when Poland and Bulgaria, their gas was cut. The Russians saying, that's it. You don't pay, no gas. And I didn't get a chance to comment on these headlines because they hadn't come out yet, but I wanted to go back and revisit them and give you also the other developments now of who has decided to pay for Russian gas in rubles. But just look at these headlines. I mean, I'm really stunned. This is from The Guardian, and they say Russia accused of blackmail after gas supplies to Poland and Bulgaria halted. This is from the Chicago Tribune. They say Russia cuts natural gas to NATO members, Poland and Bulgaria, escalating standoff with the West. PBS, they say European nations accuse Russia of blackmail. This is from ABC. Russia cuts off gas to two nations in bid to divide West. Wow. Very strong language, right? Here, I posted these on Twitter. The BBC said, Russia trying to divide allies using gas. And then the Associated Press says Russia cuts off gas to two NATO nations in bid to divide West. And of course, they also said in another headline that Russia is taking aim at Europe's economy. I mean, this is big, right? Do you notice how not in one of those headlines do they mention that Poland and Bulgaria don't want to pay for gas? Like, do they think gas is free? Again, you don't have to agree with the Russians in any way, but there's a transaction going on here, right? There's the idea that you send rubles, in payment in rubles, and you get gas. And Poland and Bulgaria are saying, we're not sending any payments. And they're basically expecting the Russians to just give the gas for free. They don't mention that anywhere. So if you have no clue what's happening about any of this situation, you would just see the headline, and like most people, you don't read to the bottom of the article. You might not even read the article. And then you're just left with this impression that Russia's just like cutting off gas, it's shutting off the valves just to like screw with Europe's economy and be evil. Because this is the whole mantra, right? Russia is simultaneously extremely stupid and extremely evil, like every Western enemy, right? From Saddam to Bashar al-Assad, you name it. They're both so evil and so dumb. And this feeds that whole narrative that Russia just wants to screw with Europe. So the fact that they don't mention that these countries of their own accord do not want to pay in rubles, it's not there. This is called lying by omission, by omitting, leaving out information. And so even the European Union, they're confusing, because a few days ago they put out a document, I'll just show it to you in a second, where they were saying that if you pay for the gas in rubles, it's technically not a breach of contract. It's a breach of sanctions, sorry. Because remember, the EU have sanctioned Russian industry and so on. Everything except gas, basically. Except the gas and energy industry, because they rely on gas. And the EU, in their advisory, they were saying, yeah, maybe you can still go forward and pay the Russians for the gas without breaching the sanctions. And now they're saying, oh no, it's blackmail. So this is very interesting. And just to be clear, 100%, I made a video on this channel explaining every step of how this plan works, how Russia wants to get paid in rubles. And it doesn't sound like you would think. Russia is not asking European countries to go and buy rubles themselves and then send them to the Russians. They are asking the buyers of the gas, so let's say Germany, to go to Gazprom Bank, which is a Russian state-owned bank, and open a ruble account, okay? Germany would send the same payment as usual in euros, not rubles. And then Gazprom Bank takes those euros, sells them for rubles, and takes the rubles and puts them in this second account that Germany opened. And from that account, it pays for the gas. So at the end of the day, the European countries or the unfriendly countries are still paying in dollars and euros. And it's Gazprom Bank that will sell those euros and dollars for rubles and then make the payment for them in their name. So it's kind of a win-win for both sides, really, because the buyers can still send the same currency. They just have to go make a second account in their name. And Gazprom Bank will take care of all the conversion and then the payment. And it's done in their name. So that, it's like Germany's going and buying the rubles, essentially, and driving up the value of the ruble. And of course, we looked at it just yesterday. It was 70 rubles to the dollar. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's even better than before the war started. Now, Poland, I explained again in a separate video with Poland and Bulgaria why they have stopped. Poland was planning on stopping this anyway. Poland doesn't want to depend on Russia. It depends currently about 50% of national consumption is Russian gas. And basically, Poland had plans to cut this anyway by the end of the year because their long-term contract with Gazprom, which is the Russian state-owned gas company, it finishes at the end of the year anyway. And they have a new pipeline that opens today on May 1st, where they can start getting gas from Lithuania. I went through the whole list, every single source. They have an LNG terminal. There's another pipeline that will be opening in October. They're using reverse gas from Germany through the Yamal pipeline, and so on. I went into detail on that one. So my point is Poland can afford to do this in a sense because they have very high reserves, between 70 to 80% of their gas reserves. They have other pipelines, other alternatives. But I mean, Bulgaria, man, 90% of their gas comes from Russia. And there are other countries that have realized if we cut Russian gas, we are screwed. We are screwed. The EU economy is screwed. Our economy is screwed. And among those countries are Germany, Austria, and Italy. And of course, Hungary, we already saw last week. They said right from the start, we'll pay the rubles. So let me show you this article from The Guardian. It says German and Austrian energy firms seek to meet Putin's terms for gas payments. So European energy companies are scrambling to find a workaround that allows them to pay for Russian gas without falling foul of EU sanctions amid political chaos sparked by the Kremlin's decision to cut off supplies to Poland and Bulgaria. Again, I hate to go off on a tangent here again, but this is really, it doesn't make sense for Russia to accept payment in euros and dollars. They can't use them. Do you understand? They can't use them. And the people buying the gas have put sanctions on Russia. So that's a hostile act. Like the official name, you know how the terminology, what the terminology for sanctions is? It's called a unilateral coercive measure. Okay? Now, obviously, if it's mandated by the UN, it's not unilateral, but it's a coercive measure. Okay? You're coercing someone into doing something. Now, the idea that Russia should send gas for free, I mean, I don't know where they get this from, but that's basically what they're saying. So, the idea that the Kremlin is doing this just to start political chaos, I don't know where they come up with this. So big gas distributors in Germany and Austria confirmed they were exploring ways to continue to make payments after Putin signed a decree at the end of March calling for a special procedure for foreign buyers' fulfillment of obligations to Russian suppliers of natural gas. Again, that's a very long way of just saying pay in rubles. The decree stipulates that non-Russian buyers of gas must pay in rubles, opening a special K-type account. I explained all of this to you just 1 minute ago. Germany's economy minister, Robert Habeck, suggested on Thursday that Berlin could comply. He said the payments will be made in euros and then transferred by Gazprom Bank into a so-called K account, insisting that this was compatible with sanctions. But hours later, a spokesperson for the EU Commission said that complying with the decree is a breach of sanctions. If companies pay in euros, they are not in breach of the sanctions. What we cannot accept is that companies are obliged to open a second account in rubles and that the payment is complete only when converted into rubles. So again, I wouldn't blame you if you're confused because this sounds like a bunch of gibberish. Let me just break this down. Here's the document from the EU just a few days ago. Okay, here's the advisory they released. And if you zoom in, and the number 3 says, is it still possible to pay for gas after, Russia's decree saying that it has to be in rubles. And the EU says, yes, this appears possible. EU companies can ask their Russian counterparts to fulfill their contractual obligations in the same manner as before the adoption of the decree, basically by depositing the due amount in euros or dollars. And Putin's decree, whatever you want to call it, it does not preclude a payment process which is in line with EU restrictive measures. So a few days ago, the EU are saying, yes, it's fine. You can pay in rubles. And now they're saying, no, it's not fine. The EU position right now is that if the gas sale is only complete once it's been converted into rubles, then it's a breach of sanctions. But if it's considered that you have paid immediately once you send the euros or the dollars, so before they're converted into rubles, if that's enough to get the gas, then it's not a breach of sanctions. Does that make sense? They're being very technical. They're being extremely technical. At the end of the day, you will still be sending Russia euros and dollars, okay? That's not changing. The EU is saying that if the payment is considered done and you can get the gas from the moment you send the euros or the dollars, then that's okay. It doesn't breach the sanctions. But if you have to have that converted into rubles, do it yourself or through Gazprom Bank or through Mickey Mouse or whatever, then it's a breach of sanctions. So they're being extremely technical, but I'm just telling you what the position is and what's changed. I hope that's clear because they are being pedantic for sure. Now going back to the article, they say EU energy ministers are due to meet on Monday, where the capitals will try to forge a common line for companies to follow. On Thursday, the German distributor Uniper and Austria's OMV confirmed they were examining methods of complying with both the decree and the sanctions regime. So firms could turn to legal guidance issued by the EU last week. That's the document that I just showed you here, which said that it appears possible to send money to Gazprom Bank without breaching sanctions. The guidance states that this would rely on a declaration from one or both signatories to the gas purchase. So that means basically a declaration from the gas buyer and from Russia that the transaction is completed once the initial euro or dollar payment has been made. So that's exactly what I just explained to you. In theory, this would avoid a European state or private energy company being complicit in a currency conversion involving Russia's central bank, which is subject to sanctions. However, the EU advised gas companies to seek confirmation from the Russian side that this was allowable under Putin's Decree 172. Now, a spokesperson for Uniper, which is one of Germany's main buyers of gas from Russia, confirmed on Thursday that it was in talks with Gazprom in close coordination with the German government over concrete payment modalities, but said it would continue to pay in euros for now. Yeah, well, again, that's not changing. I don't know why. Uniper can say for its contracts, we consider a payment conversion compliant with sanctions law and the Russian decree to be possible. For our company and for Germany as a whole, it is not possible to do without Russian gas in the short term. This would have dramatic consequences for our economy. So again, this is the thing that a lot of people seem to conveniently forget. They think that it's just a question of refusing to buy the gas from Russia and going elsewhere. What do you mean elsewhere? Where are you going to get all this gas from? Again, Poland has options, sure. Germany, do they have options? Germany doesn't have a single LNG terminal. At least Poland has one. It's not enough on its own, but at least that. Austria gets 80% of its gas from Russia, so that's the overwhelming majority. Do you know what would happen if that was cut off? I don't forget it. It's bye-bye. 80%. This is madness to think that you can just decide not to pay. And again, I really think that I have to be clear about this. No one is asking Russia is not asking anyone to send rubles. They're saying, keep sending your euros and your dollars like usual. But you have to open the second account where we will convert it into rubles for you. It's like a technicality just to get around it. It's quite smart, honestly, because it's a win-win for everybody. But, some people, they just want to see the world burn, I guess. They just don't care. They think that if you don't send a gazillion billion dollars worth of weapons and you don't cut off Russian gas, then you are working for the Kremlin. That's the conventional wisdom right now. Very, very intellectual. So OMV, an Austrian oil and gas company, is also looking at ways to pay for gas without contravening EU sanctions. They said that we have analyzed the Gazprom request about payment methods in light of the EU sanctions and are now working on a sanctions-compliant solution. Now, the Financial Times reported that companies in Hungary and Slovakia, as well as Italy's Eni, were also considering signing up for Russian accounts in the hope of securing continued supplies. Poland and Bulgaria have taken a defiant position, refusing to sign up to Putin's preferred arrangement under any conditions. So we covered all of this already. Germany, which is Europe's largest economy and largest Russian gas user, has adopted a more emollient tone amid fears, disputed by some analysts that an embargo would be impossible without crashing its economy. I'd love to see who these analysts are, these really galaxy-brained guys. So basically, the main EU member states resisting tougher gas sanctions on Russia were Austria, Germany, and Hungary. Yeah, because they depend heavily on Russian gas. We are, quote, we are counting on there being consequences for these countries, meaning Austria, Germany, Hungary, Italy, Slovakia, which seek to comply with Putin's ruble payment decree. And that as a result, they will cease paying in rubles. So basically what they're saying is they want to punish Germany, Austria, Slovakia, Italy, Hungary for paying in rubles, right? So that it deters others. Again, I really think that this is really dangerous. You know, this is not perhaps on the same level as the nuclear war thing. Nuclear war thing, like it's a side issue, you know. But my point is that this is reckless. This is really reckless. This idea that, yeah, so what if the whole economy is destroyed and everything becomes more expensive, agriculture, industry, services, because they cannot run without gas and oil. Who cares? You have to ban it because it's Russian. My goodness. I mean, they are incapable of thinking 5 fucking seconds into the future. It's really something. It's really something. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said on Wednesday that the Kremlin was using fossil fuels to try to blackmail us. It's not a blackmail. If the Russians really wanted to blackmail you, they would just cut off the gas. They would cut off the gas completely and say, we don't care. We don't want any of your money. Do XYZ. That would be real blackmail because they would force you to be without gas. Russia's not forcing anyone to be without gas. They're saying we will give you everything is exactly the same. You just have to open an account and we'll take care of the rest. Honestly, in some ways, you could say Russia's being too lenient because I would never, ever imagine the US doing something like that. The US would be like, embargo, fuck you. That's it. Look at what they did to Cuba. Look at what they did to Syria, Iran. Embargo. Game over. Goodbye. But some people, these bureaucrats, they really, they are so desperate to grovel and to lick Uncle Sam's boots. They are willing to do everything. But of course, they're not affected, right? So if they cut off the gas, their lifestyle is not going to change because they can still buy gas. They still have the same rich mansion and lifestyle. Nothing changes for them. They can buy expensive food. They already do. Right? They don't care. They're willing to sacrifice everything just to... I should rephrase that. They're willing to sacrifice their own citizens and constituents just to please Uncle Sam. And it really is another manifestation of how obedient and submissive and groveling these EU bureaucrats are. They are quite something else, really. They are quite something. My goodness. So in any case, that's the latest on all this gas issue and payments in rubles. Again, I've covered every single one of these developments from the beginning till the latest one today on May 1st. So if you want to learn more about how this gas payment works, why this started, why Russia's demanding it, what effect it's having on Russia's economy, all of these are in the channel. Go check them out. And thanks for subscribing.